One important day an average young man and an average young lady often dream about is the day they will walk down the aisle with the bone of their bone and flesh of their flesh, joined in holy matrimony as they utter the word, I do. It is not only the supposed bride and the groom that often look forward to such a life-changing event, parents are equally active participants in making such a dream a reality. Surprisingly, while so much efforts are exerted at wedding preparations, many often overlook the real issues about marriage when the newlywed would be left to embark on the journey of marriage on their own. Many a times, the couple get overwhelmed with the challenges of life and may decide to respond to such issues through violence. Domestic violence is a pattern of behavior which involves violence or other abuses by one person against another in a domestic setting such as marriage or cohabitation. It can also involve violence against children, parents or the elderly and may be done for self-defense. An educationist, Mrs. Oyetola Adeshiji, explained that domestic violence can take a number of forms, including physical, verbal, emotional, economic, and religion. She cited a recent example of the case of a 30-year-old bank worker, Olaoluwa Adejo, who was arrested by the police following the death of his 28-year-old wife, Maureen, in Lagos. Adejo was alleged to have tortured his wife of 5 years with belt and cut her with a machete.
We youth of nowadays, we rush into marriages. Some people don't even know the meaning of marriage. They will just be like, maybe my friend is getting married, let me get married, without even know the deep down of what it takes to be involved in a marriage or in a relationship. So when you don't really know what it means to be in a relationship, when tolerance is lost, when you can't compromise, when understanding is lost, I think this is causing the major reason why this is happening in our society nowadays.
Studies have shown that domestic violence is among the most underreported crimes worldwide for both men and women. There is a general belief that the victims of domestic violence are overwhelmingly women, and the women tend to experience more severe forms of violence. However, a social crusader, Mrs. Folashade Adewale Lawal, is of the view that due to stigmatization regarding male victimization, men face an increased likelihood of being overlooked by healthcare providers.
Some women are worse than men when it comes to the domestic violence, for real. And domestic violence is not all about beating women or beating men. Even some women are more powerful, some wives are more powerful than their husbands, to the extent that they slap their husband on any slightest mistake. They don't have to explain things over any little thing. Before they know, they'll say, oh, after doing that, they will say they are sorry. What do we call that?
Recent happenings concerning some reported cases in the media where a female lawyer, Yewande Oyedino, was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for stabbing her husband, Lawo Oyedino, to death in Ibadan while he was sleeping. There were reports that the wife had before then stabbed her husband on the shoulder following a dispute which got the intervention of neighbors, and the misunderstanding resolved amicably, only for her to wait for the moment he will be sleeping to unleash her pent-up anger. There is also the case of the son of a former chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Haliru Bello, who was allegedly stabbed to death by his wife, Mariam Sanda. Mariam was said to have stabbed her husband, Bello, 3 times on the back. She reportedly stabbed him several times on his manhood and thereafter drove him to the hospital for treatment, but he did not survive the attack. According to report, it was not the first time Mariam would attack Bello violently. She once beat part of his ear off during an argument. The couple had a daughter together. A family source stated that Bello was advised to leave the house after the first incident, but he refused, only to be brutally attacked the second time. A relationship expert, Mrs. Olaide Adebayo, explained that domestic violence occurs when the abuser believes that the abuse is an entitlement, acceptable, justified, or unlikely to be reported. She noted that very few people recognize themselves as abusers or victims because they may consider their experiences as family conflicts that got out of control. Mrs. Adebayo advised those going through such a deal to seek help immediately before it is too late.
They saw each other first before any other person. So they should consult each other. How? By coming together. They should remember the love that they start with. Let them come together and talk it out. But if they can't talk it out, we have counselors, we have spiritual fathers, we can consult them.
It is generally believed that domestic violence is a worldwide phenomenon, but the absence of such incidents in Nigeria in recent times has become worrisome. Hardly could a day pass by without the media reporting cases of such. Another educationist, Mr. Taye Babalola, stated that reasons for the increase in cases of domestic violence may not be connected with the economic situation in the country.
Things are not really going well as it is. Couples are not finding it easy. Apart from that, there might not be agreement between the husband and the wife. So definitely it will lead to this domestic violence.
What is even more worrisome is the effect domestic violence would have in the lives of children who happen to be the future of the country. Studies have shown that children who live in households with violence often show psychological problems from an early age, such as avoidance, hypervigilance to threat, and dysregulated aggression, which may contribute to traumatization.
The most affected party to this is the children, because they see this happen now and then. Consider these children. You brought them into this world, and they are the most important thing they say. And anything they see you do, that is what they do, and they believe so much in it as well. That is why you see some children bullying their mates as when they get to school, because they just see their father doing that to their mom at home.
The United Nations Declaration on Elimination of Violence Against Women of 1993 provides guidelines to address and manage violence through the creation of effective laws, law enforcement policies and practices, community activities to break down societal norms that condone violence, criminalize it, and create effective support system for survivors of violence. A lawmaker in the state parliament, Honorable Folorunsho Bamishayemi, stated that the laws have been domesticated in several countries, including Nigeria. He noted that religious leaders have important roles to play in putting an end to domestic violence.
We have sufficient legislation to tackle it. What we need is to guide our value system in the society and to ensure that the custodian of our values, that is the churches and the mosques, are actually playing their role. Churches should step up, and our mosque also should step up, begin to preach about it, begin to revive the fear of God in our people.
Analysts believe that when couples accept the fact that issues can never be resolved through violence, then there will be a step ahead of putting an end to domestic violence. Oluchi Amuda for Dateline.